And our third and final story for this edition of the Rolling Stone takes us to Colorado and to Jack Phillips, whom you probably have heard of as the Colorado baker. He was the baker who was sued by a same-sex pair when he declined to bake them a wedding cake, citing his Orthodox Christian beliefs that marriage is between a man and a woman, right? And that case dragged on for years. The judicial system in the United States is a joke. I really should do a video about that. Mark Stein has talked about that a couple of times, since he has been dragged through the U.S. court system a couple of times. I would have to do some research on that, though, to actually do the full Monty, so I wouldn't shortchange you guys and actually report actual facts again, instead of just rumors of what I have heard. But in any case, Jack Phillips, okay, his case went all the way to the Supreme Court because the state of Colorado said that he was illegally discriminating against this same-sex pair by not baking them a cake. And he actually had to go through diversity training, and I mean, it was scary. It was scary ideological stuff that the state of Colorado said that Jack Phillips had to go through when it found him basically guilty of not being diverse. His case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, but only very narrowly. But it was still a victory. It was still a victory. Well, now Jack Phillips is in court again because he is being sued again. This time by a transgender woman. Because this transgender woman, okay, this man posing as a woman who goes by the name of Autumn Scardina, she wanted Jack Phillips to make him a birthday cake that was also going to celebrate his quote-unquote transition to being a female. So it was supposed to be blue on the outside and pink on the inside. Like, on the outside, you know, I'm a boy and I'm a man, but on the inside, I'm really a girl. Jack Phillips, surprise, surprise, declined. He declined the commission, saying no, I'm not going to do this. Now, this is where it gets interesting, gang, okay? In 2018, Colorado officials, I'm quoting from The Hill, okay? In 2018, Colorado officials repeatedly found that Phillips had violated state laws after he refused to make a cake for Autumn Scardina. Phillips sued the state in response, claiming that the state was punishing him for his religious beliefs. But he and the state of Colorado settled in March of 2018, agreeing not to continue pursuing the case. Afterward, Scardina, the transgender woman, decided to open up a second lawsuit in June of 2019, which she did. The new case was filed in the district court for the city and county of Denver. Now, Paula Greisen, an attorney for Scardina, has alleged that the cake shop is not being honest with the public and engaging in deceptive business with Denver customers. Paula Greisen says, quote, again from The Hill, "The dignity of all citizens in our state needs to be honored. Masterpiece Cake Shop said before the Supreme Court they would serve any baked good to members of the LGBTQ community. It was just the religious significance of it being a wedding cake," unquote. Now that's dime store lawyering. That is a prime, beautiful example of dime store lawyering, because of course the anthropology of the transgender ideology would violate, you know, his religious beliefs too. That has religious significance too. You go back to Genesis, where it says God made them man and woman in his image. In the image of God he created them, man and woman. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. You can't have the Orthodox Christian belief that marriage is the union of a man and a woman unless there are such things, metaphysical things, as men and women. And there can't be metaphysical things as men and women if the transgender ideology is correct, which says that if you feel like the opposite sex, or if you feel like another gender and just choose to express yourself as that other gender, whatever that may be, then you automatically become that other gender, and your old gender and your old sex and your old identity is simply ash in the wind. Okay, so that is dime store lawyering. Polly Gryson really should deserve some sort of an award for dime store lawyering, because that's what that is. But this story is fascinating in a bad way, because it shows what the name of the game is with the left in general, with the LGBTQ activist community in general. And the end goal is totalitarianism. Now, a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too, I'm actually weaning myself off of this habit now that I know the difference. A lot of people use totalitarianism as a synonym for authoritarianism, but the two are different. Authoritarianism, it's very concerned with what you do, your outward actions. But after that, it really doesn't give a tinker's damn about you, okay? You can be thinking all the seditious thoughts in your head, but as long as you don't verbally express them, as long as you don't act out on them, write them out or anything, authoritarians don't care. Your mind is sort of the last refuge that you have, which sucks, yes, but your mind is still your own. Totalitarianism is a different animal altogether, and it's much more scary, because totalitarians and totalitarianism, it doesn't just care about what you do, it also cares about what you think. The end goal of authoritarianism is to get everyone to act according to the government, the state, the party, whatever. To get everyone like little ant-like drones. Totalitarians, though, totalitarianism, that's not enough for them. They want your mind. They want your soul. They don't want you just to go through the actions. They don't just want you to... what's an example? They don't want you just to worship their Caesar with your mouth, but in your head you're like, well, you know, to hell with Caesar or whatever. I'm going to keep it PG, okay, guys? I'm going to keep it PG. But totalitarians, they don't just want you to say, Hail Caesar, praise Caesar with your mouth. They want you to be thinking it too. They want you to actually believe it when you say that. And this is a prime example of this. This Autumn Scardina, this transgender woman, this man posing as a woman. That's right, I said it. This man posing as a woman is a profound example of the totalitarian mindset, because the only reason why Jack Phillips is being punished is because he refuses to think like he is supposed to think. He refuses to actually think along the ideological parameters that have been set out not only by the culture, but by politics. Again, it's the state of Colorado that has been hounding and persecuting this man for years, I think since 2012. For 8 years of Jack Phillips' life, he has been hounded and persecuted by the state of Colorado and by the activist LGBTQ community. And I use persecution, I don't use it lightly, because this is actually what that is, okay? No, he's not being dragged out of his home by a rope, around his neck at midnight. He's not being scourged and whipped, and he's not having thumb screws put on him only to, be used as a torch for some pride parade or thrown into a coliseum to be devoured by, I don't know, feral dogs or whatever. But it is soft-gloved persecution, velvet persecution, call it soft-core persecution if you want. Because, think about it again, 8 years of this man's life, not only that he has had to go through the hell that is the U.S. judicial system. Not only has he had to put his business and his livelihood on hold, not only has he had to deal with state officials and activists, not only has he had to deal with his name being dragged through the mud and everyone tweeting about him, tweeting hate at him, sending him hate mail, etc., 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 bad reviews for his bakery because of the glories of Google and the internet, but his time, his very life is being sucked away from him. 8 years of his life, he's been fighting this. The goal here, it's not about the cake, it's not about trans rights, it's not about equality, diversity, tolerance, freedom, or any of the other catchphrases. This is punishment. Because Jack Phillips is being persecuted for his beliefs. That's the thing. Okay? It's not about any of those catchphrases. This is pure and simple about punishing Jack Phillips for how he thinks. Because every time someone thinks contrary to the ideology, they are a danger to the ideology and to the totalitarian system. Because every act of disobedience, thinking therefore becomes an act of disobedience. And you cannot have that, because any act of disobedience against the regime is a threat to the regime. Because again, it's built on lies. And therefore, it's a house of sand. And people know that it's a house of sand. They know that if enough people actually were not afraid or knew the truth, that the whole thing would come cascading down in a shower of sand, because it's a house of sand. Duh. Excuse me. So that's what this is. This is punishment for political heresy and for a political sin. Political heresy and an ideological sin. That's what's going on here with Jack Phillips. And honestly, again, the right really needs to start calling it like it is. It's not that this is, freedom of religion. This is, this needs to be called for what it is. Totalitarianism. This needs to be called for what it is. Something that would happen in Moscow, Beijing, Tehran, or Baghdad, something like that. Something that would happen there. But because it would. Because it would. That's the argument that needs to be made. Not that it violates someone's, religious liberty. I'm so tired now of basically people on the right saying, we don't care what you do, just please leave us alone. Which is basically what this is. Oh, please let us have our own safe space. Which is, for us, freedom of religion. Not freedom from religion, freedom of religion. Please let us have our little safe space right here, and then we don't care what you do over here. Just please don't please don't make us say these things. Please don't force us. Please just leave us alone in our little corner of the world, in our little corner of the economy. It doesn't work like that. Totalitarian never works like that. There can be absolutely no opposition. Everyone must be on the same page for this to work. And not only that, it's cowardly as well from that, because if they're not going to leave you alone, then you've got to fight. And if you're going to fight, then you might as well go down swinging. And if you're going to go down swinging, then you might as well just state bluntly what it is that you're fighting. Not liberalism, not an attack on freedom of religion, but totalitarianism. Okay? That's the thing. And as long as we think, as long as we make it argue, like, just go to another baker, when we refuse to see what's actually happening, we're going to lose. So, to tie this back to our regular On the Stone video that I posted on Tuesday about Bernie Sanders and how he lost the battle for the Democratic presidential nomination, but he won the war in remaking the Democrat Party in his own image, we can pop the champagne corks as much as we like about defeating Sanders, or, again, the left, the registered Democrat voters defeating Sanders. But as long as this sort of totalitarianism is alive and well, then we don't even have a victory of any kind. Even if conservatives had beaten Bernie Sanders in any sort of election, any sort of competition, it wouldn't matter if this is what the culture is becoming. But that's all I've got for that story. And with that story, we wrap up this 52nd episode of the Rolling Stone Gang. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Share, like, subscribe as usual. Please, I appreciate everything that you do. Really helps me, really helps the channel. Stay healthy, stay safe. I will see you next time around. Ciao, gang.